much do you feel like the conversations that you're having with photographers, creators, how much of it is mindset, kind of reflecting on who you are, how you work, versus, hey, here's how you get better at shooting in manual, like really tactical?
Um, I would say the audience that I'm now cultivating is moving more towards the
Uh
latter
huh.
because, people can just go on YouTube and,
Yeah.
like when we started, that was none of that existed. And now it's just at the fingertips. But also, there comes a point where you figure manual out.
Mm-hmm.
You crack that
Mm-hmm.
nut, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next stage is about really positioning yourself and distinguishing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually requires mindset, but also introspection in the same way
Yeah.
that all that we've discussed about, like, how is your photography different?
Yeah.
How are you going to stand out? How are you going to get noticed? How are you going to stop comparing yourself
Yeah.
and imitating what is or has already been done to really fine tune your own
Uh
voice?
huh.
And so a lot of that's really the work that I'm doing much more now than quote unquote just
Yeah.
manual mode, and
Yeah.
which is important,
Yeah.
super important. But I think that for me, where I'm stepping into my role as a teacher is to really support people in finding their own
Mm.
unique creative style.
And what does that transformation look like? So where do you where are people on that journey usually? Like if you were to kind of
Mhm.
boil it down to, and then what does it look like once you're on the other side? Are you ever on the other side?
Well, I think it's a lifelong journey for sure, but I do think there's steps that are noticeably, you know, that transformational steps that are that everyone can see. So I think when a lot of the times when students come to me, they've watched the YouTube videos and they've done all the things, and what they're ending up is they're creating images that look generic, that
Sure.
look a little bit like what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And so what
They're
I
really good,
do
but they're really similar to, I
Yes.
use the analogy all the time of songwriting, and it's like it's like, "Oh, that's a really good song," but it kinda sounds like, you know, Seal Kissed by a Rose or whatever. It's like, "Wait, this is the same melody."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so part of why that happens is because a lot of the times we are very external. So which is normal. That's how we're set up as
Mhm.
humans. We have our eyes at the front of our face, and we're spending so much time on social media, so we're consuming a lot of content, and it's very hard not to get influenced by that. In fact, when you're at the start, it's very natural to
Mhm.
want to imitate and,
Mhm.
emulate the people that you admire. But then there comes a stage where we actually have to do the introspective work
Mhm.
and to think about what is my unique gift
Yeah.
and how can I bring that to the fore?
Uh-huh.
And that consists, for example, at looking at, I always say, you look at your color story.
Uh-huh.
So, are you on the cool spectrum? Are you on the warm spectrum? Do you find that you're moving towards using analog colors or
Mhm.
complementary colors, or how are you expressing colors, for example? And that is one part of how you start creating your own look and
Mhm.
your own feel. What I do is I ask people to kind of play with different ways of working with color, for example, so cool and warm,
Mhm.
and then the different ways of combining colors, and to write down which one do you like best, like which one got you really excited,
Yeah.
which image, because it gives you lots of indicators of where you are. And
Uh-huh.
the same with editing, the same with light work. Um, all these things can be manipulated and controlled and changed in such a way that it allows you to create a
Mm.
signature look
Uh-huh.
that somebody will see your image and it'll go, that's,
Yeah.
Lindsay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
And I can really see that transformation. I also can see how people feel more confident in playing more boldly with color
Yeah.
and really having a go at editing. There's like a messy phase in the middle where, you're trying
Uh-huh.
stuff out, but then when you come out the other end,
Yep.
it feels really good.
Yeah, but I would imagine one of the fears, like if put myself in that position, is looking. A lot of the reasons why I think we emulate certain people is because they have been successful. And
Yes.
there's a safety in saying, this person did it this way and they were successful doing that. So there's a relative amount of safety in me doing it this way because that's how this person did it. That could be applied
Mhm.
to photography, operations, best practices, like whatever it might be, business or creative. So how do people feel confident in creating their own look, style, brand, knowing that they might not have examples of that being successful in the world?
So I think one is you don't necessarily have to share everything,
Mm,
like you can do a lot of the things behind the scenes
yeah.
and then only post something that you feel really confident with. I also think it's nice to be part of a creative community of people who cheer you on,
Uh-huh.
maybe who give you feedback. So, my courses, for example, we have Facebook groups, but you don't even need that. Like you could have a community on Instagram, maybe a DM group
Yeah.
of friends that you connect with. But then also, I think the other side of discomfort is where the magic happens.
Mm,
It's part of the process,
mhm,
and sticking with a set formula, I think becomes boring very quickly,
mhm,
but B, I don't think you can ever be as good as the person that you're
mhm,
emulating.
mhm.
So, I just think there's this, yeah, there's magic at the other side of
Yeah.
trying and failing and trying and failing,
Yeah.
and that's where you want to get to.
And part of it is, I think about this with podcasting, and I listen to certain podcasters, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the way that they podcast, they interview. I think of a couple different people who are like really like confrontational, edgy. And it's like, I love listening to that. I know that's not going to be me. So if I try
Mhm.
and emulate it, I could like put those jeans on. They're not going to fit very well. Um, and I would imagine the same thing with photography. One of the things that you're trying to do is
Mm,
emulate when it's something that fits into who you are and matches what you're about in service of becoming the maximum version of who you are as a creator. Like, how do you become 100, like max it out 100%? This is perfect alignment in my style, my, how I want to show myself and present myself to the world. It might have little elements of those people who have inspired you, but
mhm.
really it is like you 100%. Is that kind of what you're trying to get
A
through in that
hun
transformation?
Yes, exactly, and I think one way that it can be helpful in, stopping yourself from emulating certain people, like if you notice that you're doing that, is either mute them for a little while and or also start following work of people that are totally different than you.
Yeah.
So that, there's 3 creators who I really, really feel inspired by, and they're all so different.
Hmm.
And so there's a little element of each of them that I've just,
Yeah.
that really resonates, that I've kind of pulled to create my own look.
Uh-huh.
And I think that, versus just following everybody who does exactly the same kind of visual storytelling as me, that probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have led to the style that I have now. And
Who are those people that you appreciate, or just a couple of them?
yes, so somebody called Gabriel Cabrera.
Uh,
He's a Mexican Canadian food photographer who
cool.
does a lot of really abstract,
Yeah.
artificial light colors, like it's neon. It's crazy.
Cool.
I love it, and I love colors.
Uh,
So I don't work like that. And then the other one's Louisa Brimble. She does a lot of very natural, so very unstyled and very homely, like, it
yeah.
feels homely, and that's something I love to convey my photography is the sense of belonging and, just a down to earthness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, the other one is, Erin Goyoaga or Canal Vanille,
Uh,
and she does, you know, uh, just very kinda a little bit moody, darker
yeah.
shadows, but still, and that's very much me as well, so they're so different, and yet each one of them has totally influenced
Yeah.
the photographer that I am today.
Yeah. It's not exactly the same, but there's a little bit of overlap. So you can find
Yeah.
inspiration without feeling like this person is doing kind of very similar work to what I'm doing,
Yes.
which I think, yeah, that's great.